because it'll still be there. Let's face it. It's the internet. You always find things, even if you try and get rid of them. But, you know, that's okay. Hi everyone, welcome back to another I Spy in July video. My name is Christy Grace and I am here to talk to you today about a project that I had been working on with my first book when I published it earlier this year, and it is still happening as I'm recording this and probably as I release these videos, which was my CGSP First Book Journey podcast. I actually ended up exploring the idea of putting a podcast together to journal, I suppose, my experience in publishing my very first book. My publishing journey, I went through what is essentially termed as a vanity publisher, and I paid a very amazing publisher who knows more than I do about publishing in this world to help me and assist me to self-publish. That approach is not for everybody, but it worked really well for me, and it was what I wanted and needed for this season because I didn't mind self-publishing, but I also needed and wanted the guidance that came with this type of a publishing journey. And because it was a self-published but a little bit of a different way, I wanted to take everybody on every step of that with me and explain it all and talk about it all and commentate on everything that went well, went wrong, what have you. And so I ended up with the First Book Journey podcast that I was posting semi-regularly. When I released the book, there was still some episodes to come out, and there was some bonus stuff that I had thought of and didn't plan and book into the actual span of the show. I think I ended up with 16 episodes, I think was the tally, and then I have some bonuses as well, which I hadn't considered. But yeah, I think that the podcast was really fun to do. It was really interesting when you're doing it on your own. I had done some podcasty type stuff when I was studying radio and TV, and I loved it. I liked doing that, but I liked doing it with somebody else that was fun to bounce things off of. So doing it myself is sort of like doing these videos, talking to a camera by myself, trying to be somewhat interesting. But something that I did learn really quite early on was I was talking a lot, and I was doing like 40-minute episodes. The first few episodes are really quite long, and then realized further down as I got further along the journey and I continued on with the episodes that people are probably not going to listen to a 40-minute episode of someone they don't know and they probably don't care that much about, because I am a brand new author. But also, I didn't have that much to say about every single topic. And so I ended up with a lot shorter episodes, and I think a lot of them sort of average out at the 10-minute range. There were a few that were shorter and quite a few that were longer, and those were more so at the beginning. But I did end up finding quite a nice balance in the end. I have my own little home studios that I've had across the process of this releasing this first book and learning about myself as a writer, as an author, how I go about writing, how I went through the publishing part, and what I learned, what I did wrong, what maybe you could learn from me that shouldn't do, or something interesting that I did do that went well. I don't know, but whatever it was that anybody was going to get out of it, I was really happy that I had journaled this. And I think that in one of the last episodes that I recorded, because I have now recorded all of them, I haven't released them all yet, but I did finish recording. I really enjoyed being able to record that myself in my house whenever I was up to it or felt like it or had time, and then just clipping that and editing that together myself. There was some other people I'd seen on podcasts and other platforms who had tried to do similar things. When it comes to podcasting, a few of the most important things to remember is your audio quality and your editing. And then also if it's interesting enough for people to follow. I think that the limited success of my podcast was a good indication of I really wanted to just do that more for me than anybody else. And whether people were still interested or can still listen to it, it's across all of the places. Whether they did listen or not, it didn't really matter, because it was a really nice way for me to sort of journal out how I felt and how if I had any complaints or I had something that went wrong or that didn't go the way that I wanted it to, I was able to explore that in this podcast. And so it was valuable for that reason for me. But also it was fun. It was fun to go through and remember all of the stuff that I'd just been through, and talk about the publishing journey that I have had. It might have been a bit different than somebody else. And it was really, yeah, it was nice to be able to get down your thoughts, as it were, and instead of a blog post where you'd have to read my thoughts, you get to hear me and my randomness and all of my ridiculous attempts at humor or interest. And so, yes, there is probably still a few episodes that I have to edit at this point, but I am looking forward to it coming to an end, to be perfectly honest with you. I think I'm excited for that, to sort of finish that journey and come to that conclusion, because it's just really nice to have that finality. There's a lot of other finals that I've had for the book Kidnapped Entanglement that I released earlier in the year, and this is sort of one that's still hanging on. There's still something not finished, it's not done yet, it's still going, and to be able to have that finality, I think, is something that I'm really quite excited to have. So it'll be good. It's been a good process, and if you wanted to listen to it, I will put a link in the description below. But I think one of the things that I learned the most was to be very careful with the length, the length of your episodes. My most popular listened to episode was Writing During COVID. It was one of the bonus episodes release. It was a shorter, I believe, episode, and I just basically went over what it was like to write during COVID, and it was one of my most listened to episodes ever, and I posted on SoundCloud as well, and I got a lot of people listening on SoundCloud, because I don't care what platform, it just, people can listen to it, I don't care, but yeah, people really responded to that one, and I think because I released it during the main big COVID lockdown in Victoria, people were a little bit more interested to still hear about that. So that is my most listened to. I think probably some of the earlier ones are my least listened to, I would guess, but I haven't actually checked that out. I should probably look just for interest's sake. But like I said in the beginning, it really doesn't matter, because it was really more for me, this process and this project. It's another project to add to my list, to tick off my list when it's finished and I can move on to something else. So yeah, it was a good experience, and I'm really proud and happy that I did it. Will I be doing another podcast anytime soon? No. But it was worth it for me. It was worth it for all of the reasons, all of the above that I already mentioned, and probably some more that I can't think of. But yeah, it's nice to have learning curves. It's nice to have ways to express yourself that are different and interesting, and whether people listened or not, I was happy that I got that out there and explained my journey to whoever might want to listen in the future, because it'll still be there. Let's face it. It's the internet. You always find things, even if you try and get rid of them. But, that's okay. Like I said before, if you want to check out my podcast, you can. I'll put a link in the description below. You can also grab the book Kidnapped Entanglement, now in ebook form, on Amazon.com, or you can go direct to my website or Coolronk.com as well, where it's being sold. Thank you so much for watching this I Spy in July video. There's still so many more videos to come, and I'm really excited to be able to post a whole bunch of content and a whole bunch of stuff for you guys to get a glimpse into my life and all the stuff that goes on in my brain. And I really hope that you continue to like and subscribe and share any of the videos that you think are interesting, and comment below with any podcasts that you have heard that you thought were really interesting, or if you have a good podcast that you are trying to release or have released. I'd love to give it a listen. Thanks guys, I'll see you in the adventures.